We're starting chapter 2 today, which is about rational numbers, and lesson 1 is decimals to fractions. So we're going to learn how to go from decimals to fractions and fractions to decimals. And our first vocabulary word is a number that can be written in a fraction form, where a and b are integers. So that's the definition of a rational number. So a fraction can be a rational number. Right here, we have our place value chart, and I do have a bigger one of those for you in your binder. So if you can't read this one that well, make sure you're flipping to your bigger one. Okay, we're taking decimals and we're going to fractions. To do that, you look at the place value the last number is in. This 6 is in the tenths place, so we're going to write that as 6 over 10. Now, we're going to have to simplify that. I know that 2 can go into 6 3 times, and I know that 2 can go into 10 5 times. So it simplifies down to 3/5. Our next one's a little longer. This 5 right there, that's the last number. That is in the thousands place. So we're going to take 375 over 1,000. This one is a little harder to simplify. I'm going to start with 25s because I know quarters can go into this. 375 divided by 25 is 15. And 1,000 divided by 25 is 40. And if you notice, we have a 5 and a 0 at the end, meaning that we can still divide by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 40 divided by 5 is 8. So it simplifies to 3/8. This next one, the 8 is in the hundredths place. So we have 28 over 100. If you see, hey, these are both even, you can start by dividing by 2, but I know that 4 can go into each of these. 28 divided by 4 is 7, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. So we get 7 over 25. Our next one is 0.45. This 5 is in the hundredth spot, so we're going to write 45 over 100. And I know we're going to divide by 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. 100 divided by 5 is 20. So we get 9/20. Our next one, this 8 is in the 10th spot. So 8 over 10. Both of those numbers are even, so we're going to divide by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 10 divided by 2 is 5, so we get 4/5. And our last one, going from decimal to fraction, ends in the thousandths place. So 125 divided by 1,000. And I can divide this by 125. If you can't see the largest number off the bat, you have to go smaller until you get all the way over. 125 divided by 125 is 1. And 1,000 divided by 125 is 8. Now, instead of going decimal to fraction, we're going to go fraction to decimal. There are several ways that we can do this. We can just divide the top number by the bottom number, or we can try to take the bottom number, which is the denominator, and try to change it into a place value of like 10, hundredths, thousands, that kind of things. I know I can change 5 into a 10 by multiplying by 2. So we get 6 over 10. 6/10 would be written as 0.6. Now, if you don't like that way, one surefire way to always do it is divide the top number by the bottom number. And that means I cannot put 5 into 3, so I add a decimal and do a 0. But 5 times 6 is 30. This way I like to do, but not all the time does it work. So this way works every single time you do it. Our next one, we have 14 over 25. I can turn 25 into 100 by multiplying by 4. So I do that on the top and the bottom. 14 times 4 is 56. 25 times 4 is 100. So I write that as 0.56 because the 6 is in the hundredths spot. Now, if you wanted to, you could do 14 divided by 25. But you'd have to go out 2 decimal places if you do it that way. But you can choose to do it that way if you want. This next one, I can change 250 into 1,000 by multiplying by 4. So I'm going to multiply by 4. 102 times 4 is 408. 250 times 4 is 1,000. So I'm going to write it as 0.408. Let's take a look at check understanding. To go from a fraction to a decimal, we just look at the place values in hundredths. So I need to take, it already has our place value there for us, so 0.45. The 5 is in the hundredth spot, so you're finished. 20 is not a place value number, but if I multiply it by 5, I get 100 on the bottom, and 100 is a place value number. So if I multiply by 5 on the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing on the top. 17 times 5 is 85. And so we're going to write it as 0.85 because this number is 100 and the 5 ends in the hundredth spot. This one already has a place value, 9 over 100. To do that, we need to make sure that the 9 falls right here in the hundredths place. If you put it right here, it's in the tenths place. So we just put a 0 right in front of it, and that's our answer. Now we're going to go from decimal to fraction. This one has a whole number in it, so we're going to drag the whole number down into our fraction. So the whole number just comes over here. It's like you want to keep that one whole pizza together. The 2 is in the tenths place, so that's 2 tenths. And now we have to simplify it. 2 and 10 are both even numbers, so we're going to divide by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5, so I get 1 and 1/5. And you'll see that my whole number just went over. Don't lose your pizza anywhere. This 5's in the hundredth spot, so 25 over 100. And to simplify that, I know quarters, so I'm going to divide by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1. 100 divided by 25 is 4, so I get 1/4. And our last one on check understanding, the 5 is in the thousandths place. So 75 over 1,000. And I know that 25 can go into there. If you start with a 5, you're going to get there. It's just take you an extra couple steps. Now 75 divided by 25 is 3, because 75 cents is 3/4. And 1,000 divided by 25 is 40. And we're at what do you remember? We're going from fraction to decimal here. So I want to change this number to be a place value number of 10, 100, and 1,000. I can change it to 100 by multiplying by 4. So I'm going to do that on the top and the bottom. When I do that on the top, 13 times 4 is 52. When I do that on the bottom, 25 times 4 is 100. So I'm going to just now write that as a decimal since I have it in a place value spot. So since that's 100, the 2 is going to go in the 100th spot. 5/50ths. I can change 50 into 100 by multiplying by 2. So we get 10 over 100. To write that as a decimal, we need to make sure it goes out to the 100th spot. So it does right there. Then our last one. Instead of multiplying it, I could also divide. I can change that 200 into 100 by dividing by 2. If I divide by 2 on the bottom, I'm going to divide by 2 on the top. 25 divided by 2 is 25. So I have 0.25 because the 5 is in the 100th spot. Now, anytime you turn a fraction to a decimal, if you don't want to do it this way, you can, remember, like on the front, you can always do 50 divided by 200. But if you don't like to divide, that's probably not the way for you to do it. If you do like to do some long division, that will probably be the best way. I do not care which way you do it. Now we're going to turn a decimal to a fraction. The 6 is in the 10th spot, so 6 over 10. And then they're both even numbers, so I'm going to divide by 2. And I get 3/5. This next one has a whole number in it, so I need to make sure that my whole number stays. My 3 is in the 100th spot, so 13 over 100. And our last one, this 8 is in the 100th spot, so we have 8 on top and then 100. You'll see that they're both even numbers, so you can either choose to divide by 2 or look for a bigger number. I'm going to look for a bigger number, and I know 4 can go into both of these, because 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. Now, if you would have started with a 2, you would just have to do 2 again.